why most of us look so bad wearing skinny pants. Skinny pants as a trend come and go, and your eye gets used to it. So eventually this acquired taste becomes so pervasive that you stop noticing how bad you look wearing them. So here are some technical details explaining why the eye sees what it sees. We are going to show this to you right now. Whenever the eye meets something on the body where it can anchor, like for instance a horizontal line such as a hem like this, or another one like this, the eye anchors there and uses this place, this line, the width, the height of this place as the starting point to construct the parameters of the body that it sees. If there are two places where the eye can anchor itself, for instance a hem like this and a hem here, the eye anchors at the top, anchors at the bottom, and uses the width that is visible here, the width that is visible here, and the height, the length between these 2 points to construct the proportions of your body. I will start right now by showing you myself wearing uncropped, full-length skinny pants, and I'm sure you will agree that even though I'm not the curviest person, I still look atrocious wearing them, because our eye is conditioned by the fashion and beauty images with proportions of the bodies which have very little curves. We associate the least curvy bodies with the beautiful look or the classy look or the fashionable look. In other words, no matter how much we love our curves and how much we own, the beauty of our bodies and the uniqueness of it, it still makes sense to look into the proportions. I'm intentionally wearing a shirt right now which has an unflattering length. It cuts me right here in the widest part of my body. It doesn't have to be a hem necessarily. Color blocks, various other elements of your clothing will play the same role. So this is the first width where the eye anchors, and it is really the widest on my body. The next thing, the eye travels, and it's all solid color block, and it stops right here. This hem in the skinny pants is at the narrowest point on my ankle, so it is really the narrowest portion on my body. So what we have here is the widest here and the narrowest there. And it's really the contrast between the wide and the narrow that the eye uses to construct the proportions of your body.
Look at the following diagram. First image. What your eye sees is the contrast between the width at the ankle and the width at the hip. The figure looks heavy. Now cut the pants, move the hem up, the second image. See much better simply because the contrast between the widest and the thinnest is perceived as less. Now you can reposition the top anchor by wearing a sweater that covers the hip and creates a horizontal line mid-thigh. Even better, more streamlined, that's our third image. And finally, you can also wear a top with a hem that is rounded, and maybe also a V-neck or a deep rounded neckline to add visual elongation, to break the rule of these horizontal lines. The rounded hem in our fourth image destroys the bulkiness of the hip area, repositioning the anchors that your eye is seeking.
You see, that's why a rather popular but kind of primitive advice to how to look 10 pounds thinner is emphasize your strong point. Maybe you have thin waist. Maybe, if you have a bit of a belly, it's the empire waist. Maybe it's your slender wrists. Maybe it's your face. Well, you know what? It may work only to a certain extent. The truth is, it's a very shallow piece of advice, and it doesn't really work for most people. All that it proves is that depending on where the eye of the beholder places these anchors on my body, the proportions of my body will be constructed differently. And another advice that you often hear about how to look 10 pounds thinner is, okay, see, this is low-cut jeans, low-cut skinny pants. But the advice usually is, okay, wear waist-high or high-waisted pants, and then, your proportion go all the way here, and you elongate your legs, and so on and so forth. Well, not quite. even if I remove this particular hem here that cuts me right here, still the eye will not anchor at my waist. The eye will anchor at the most prominent portions. The most prominent is the curve. We have a curve here and we have a dip down there. From here to there, this is what the eye uses to construct the proportions of my body, not my fine waist up there, you see. So the only things to minimize this proportion is to try to reposition the anchors on your body to the places that provide least contrast, least difference between the widths. What will it be? First of all, you take that hem right here at the bottom of the skinny pants and move it up to a thicker portion of your foot, of your leg. I would suggest that it has to be a little bit underneath your calf. If you put it on your calf, usually it is the most curvy, the bulbous, most heavy part of your lower leg. So it has to be a little bit underneath the calf. And the other portion, if I had a tunic, for instance, that will, or a mini dress that will put the hem right here at my lower thigh, which is thinner than my upper thigh, maybe at the knee or right underneath the knee, which is also a very thin part of the leg. This will provide very little contrast between these widths, and visually this will be a much more streamlined, much slenderer body. So what to do with your skinny pants? Cut them and hem them. Roll them up. You can just simply roll them up, especially if they have any stretch on them. You know, here is a very decent roll that provides a casual look. Probably for a more elegant look you would like to kind of formally hem them. And nevertheless, this proves what I was just talking about. Here is exactly the same pair of pants, only they are hemmed in a regular way, cut and hemmed professionally. So as you can see, the look is much more palatable, even though here we still have this unflattering hemline.
I only have a few pairs of skinny pants, and if I have them at all, it's usually due to, you know, I made a mistake in buying them, or it was desperation that I needed a pair of pants immediately. Because I really dislike having my ankle strangled. I don't like that look of the tight grip at the ankle. And you know, they can get bunchy down there. I don't like that look either. And I also don't like the visual break at the ankle. Even though it's just a purely personal aesthetic, other people wear it very well and enjoy it. I don't like it. So my resolution to skinny pants is actually quite simple. In order to have an unbroken line, I simply make sure that I am wearing boots or shoes that are the same color, and usually a boot. I don't actually even like a shoe with them. I want a boot to cover as much of the gap as possible, and I make sure that if the socks or stockings are being worn, they are the same color as well. So you get that kind of unbroken line from the hip to the toe, and I just find that personally more elegant and visually pleasing. If the skinny pants are actually so skinny that they're really like a legging, then my second solution is simply pull a pair of knee-high boots over them and resolve the whole problem that way.
As always, the piece of advice that is truly valid in all of these proportion things is heels. High heels, especially slender heels, they elongate this portion of your leg, giving additional visual elongation to your body. Another thing is pointed toes, you know, not square, not rounded. It visually elongates you. Same as anything like V-neck, any hem that is, you know, proportioned in a rounded or asymmetrical way as opposed to, you know, straight line, always helpful.